go because it's starting to trade in like 1 minute. But
yeah, I got to put in my my personal buy order here.
Awesome, man. Well, I really appreciate having you. We're gonna have you on. You'll be on Crypto Town Hall today too, right?
Yep, I'll see you. See you in a bit.
We'll talk again in 45 minutes. Good luck, man. Congratulations.
Thank you. Bye.
Awesome. Yeah, I love what we had. I remember we had Hunter Horsley, the CEO of Bitwise, on, I think, like during the launch of their first Bitcoin spot ETF, totally randomly. And I could hear, if you guys remember, we could hear like people cheering in the background at 9:30. And I was like, what's happening? He's like, I mean, we're literally like launching right now. And he was on here just shooting the shit, which was just absolutely amazing. Obviously, guys, it's Wednesday before I bring on Chris, which I'm excited for because there's an interesting spot in the charts. Obviously, you talk a bit about Aptos. I actually had a meeting with them early this morning, which is something I do very regularly to make sure that I'm updated in everything they're doing. You'll see if you follow Avery, their CEO, that the topic, really, they've started talking a lot about the global trading machine. You can see it's the idea here. It really got me thinking about what's happening in crypto, because obviously at the primitive level, at the base layer, what people really want, as we know, is speed, security, speed, price to be low, and security. So they want cheap transactions and they want them to be exceptionally fast. And we have a lot of blockchains that are arguing that they're doing that. But you guys may remember stories from the early 2000s when high frequency trading became a thing. And I was kind of kicking this around with them. But there were companies, I remember reading a story of a company that was like in Fort Lee, New Jersey or something, right across from Wall Street, and spent like $50 million on faster fiber optic cables or something. And they spent all this money just to be like a 100th of a second faster than their competitors for order execution. And when we think about blockchain becoming the underlying tech for settlement of stocks and Forex and literally everything, which I do think is the future, I think many agree, this fractional faster speed and cheaper transactions is going to mean billions, if not trillions of dollars over time. And that's really what they're focused on in building. So if you're building something, obviously in blockchain, I highly recommend that you take a look at Aptos and go build it over there. And now, without further ado, Mr. Christopher, what's up, man?
What's going on?
Bull market going on. Crypto bull, is the crypto bull run back? I mean, when ETH goes up 44% in a week, it feels pretty good.
It's definitely been the talk, right? And you know, you and I have been looking at Ethereum for quite a while now, and it took a bit, but I mean, structurally, as far as the macro structure goes, I mean, it's looking pretty good. And this big bump up here just recently, I think, just kind of really erases a lot of that of what it lost against Bitcoin this year. But Bitcoin itself, I mean, it's an absolutely beautiful chart, right? And the thing is, we've still got people out there that are bearish. And I mean, it's kind of crazy to think about sometimes, but they've been bearish since, really since up here. Then they were bearish at every top coming up. And I talked about this being the low down here. And we got the breakout, and we've got a lot of great movement here. We've got these big candles that are moving up here on the daily. They kind of move up, do a little sideways, up again, do a little sideways, up again. But this is what you like to see. This is the thing. And so and this is, as you can see here, this is different from what we saw coming down here, where you have a lot of overlapping price action. And so the overlapping price action, generally speaking, is something that you look for when you're correcting. And this where you've got these nice big moves are usually what you look for in a trend direction. So I mean, even when we're looking at this, where we've got all this overlapping price action, and then over here where we've got the big movements, there's a difference. There's a night and day difference in the way that price action is happening that we'd like to pay attention to. Now, locally here, we're finding, support here at the monthly R1 pivot. I think this is probably a flat correction here. And so based on the height of that, then, just a simple kind of price action and even an Elliott wave kind of target that you can get off there, you just kind of measure out the height of that on your fib retracement tool. And you look at that 1618, and it's up there at 108,905, which puts it just prior to the all-time high. Personally, I like that target because generally what we look for when you complete a pullback is you look for 5 waves up in or around that previous swing high. So, this would kind of get us, potentially 5 waves up there, get us a pullback, and then we could break out. But here's the thing. We've been, sideways here since his first attempt up here. I mean, really, it's been since over here around, the last kind of week of November of last year. But even if you look up here at around the mid-December, I mean, we're sideways for, 5-6 months here. And I say sideways and we're kind of down a bit, but really, this is kind of what we're doing. And so people are, now hungry, as we can see with this movement up. So, there's always this thing of, okay, well, it might be one of those more rare occasions where it actually just kind of takes off, especially with that, that all that blue sky up there. So the way I'm playing this at the moment is I'm looking initially at this 106.352, see if we can get that in a pullback. And if we do that, I hate to say this because it'd be kind of crazy, but you're probably looking at about 115,000 to get us up there. So maybe just a peek out, get people all excited, and then it drops back, and then all the bears come back out of the woodwork. See, we told you it was the top, and the big old bull trap.
Double top, triple top.
Yeah, exactly. But some kind of move like that. I guess my big thing is this idea of breaking back down through 100,000 again. 100,000 is such a psychological level. I could see this continuing to grind up. I'm not saying it has to, but I could definitely see that because that 100,000 and, we finally broke it back out above it. But, if not, we're looking for a pullback down here around that 90,000, right at that top of that low volume node. So for me right now, looking to see if we get 106.352 here. If we continue pushing through that, I want to look up here at 108.905, and then we'll kind of decide, at that point, what we're looking at overall. But nonetheless, man, this thing has been rocking and rolling here since April 7th. And so I think we're $30,000 up. And again,
casual
people
30K.
Still kind of holding on to that, that idea that the top's in, which is, I think at this point, kind of silly. Y'all saw that, what's his name over there at, what was it, CryptoQuant or whatever? He had mentioned a few months back that he thought the top was in.
Yeah, he totally capitulated, which I respect.
Yeah. No, I mean, he did what he did.
Young
buy his tool.
Yeah.
But, I got a lot of questions back then about that. Answered them a lot on my Friday show, my public show. And, at the time I said, listen, it doesn't make sense. I know that's what the online metrics maybe look like. I said, but it doesn't make sense. And I said, especially with the fact that so much of that, that money is ETFs now and whatnot with Bitcoin. I said, I don't believe that that's it. I think we're making new all-time highs. And so, he came back and he said, hey, listen, I was wrong, which is great. Absolutely love that because, again, being a trader you're not going to be right all the time, right? You're going to be wrong a lot. And he was using his tools, that he did. But, for me, I don't really watch a whole lot of online metric stuff. I'm still old school trader, still look at charts. And to me, again, as we're kind of seeing here, it didn't seem like the top is in. So I think we've got a lot of good setup here still. The question is, how far does this continue to push, right? Because, I mean, realistically, we were already overbought here on the stochastic RSI back on April 11th. And we stayed overbought until the beginning of May, dipped down, then we're back out again. RSI staying right up here into overbought. Now we're overbought. Now we're bouncing off the SMA. So again, the ability of this thing to continue to just grind higher is definitely there. But we don't want to assume that's what's going to happen. So I'm looking at these two targets, and then we'll see from there what happens if we're going to finally get that bigger pullback. But my way of looking at this is once we finally get this pullback where we're getting, 50% or whatever on that pullback off this low here, I think, even if you're bearish, I think that's the time you really start looking for a reason to buy. Doesn't mean you just blindly buy at 50%, but you kind of zoom in, on the 4-hour chart and see if there's something showing up as some sort of, reason to go long around that area. And I think you'll be all right. I think we continue going up overall. But the big question is are alts the thing now? And I think there's two compelling cases for that here. Here's the monthly on Ethereum Bitcoin. And again, you and I have been talking about it a while. I think just kept going. But interestingly enough, we kind of, found support here last month in April, right on these monthly, where these monthly candles kind of opened and closed here, all in that same area right there. This month, we've got this nice large bullish engulfing candle. Volume is not there, though. There's just absolutely no volume at all. We're half the volume of the previous month. So what we like to see when you're getting a bullish or a bearish engulfing candle at the end of a trend is we really prefer to see that engulfing candle with greater volume. So we've still got, half a month here for it to pick up its volume. But last month, that volume was about 23.96 thousand. Right now, we're at 12.68. So we would love to see that get above that 23.96 to really kind of add some oomph on this. But one thing I teach in the academy is this idea where you move from expansion into contraction here on a down move, and it makes kind of get this little sickle looking thing. And usually when you can get that, that's a good indication that there's a bottom in that downtrend and that pullback. So that's something else I'm looking at here. I don't like that it did dip down below the S1 pivot. I would have loved to have seen it hold on the yearly pivot. So I'm still cautious, but there's a lot of setup. We've got a lot of room to go in the stochastic RSI. We got a lot of room to go in the monthly RSI. So again, the setup is there. It's just, will it follow through and do it? So I think that setup is there. We can also look here at total 3. And you can see that we got the big breakout through that descending resistance. After kind of finding this support right here around this previous kind of resistance area. So very solid area where we would look for a bounce. We got it there. We've continued to move up. I think we're probably nearing the end of the current impulsive movement up for alts. But I do think, at least right now, I think we've got this one here. Yeah, probably bouncing up there to around, what is that? 1.01 trillion. And so for me, the way I'm kind of reading this is probably a 1, 2, and then that would give us a 3 up there. And then we get a 4, and then we get a 5, probably, heading up there. And again, what does this do? This gives us 5 waves up right around the previous swing high, which is what we really like to see, preferably, because that gets us into that whole, there's your one up into resistance, you pull back, gain support, boom, and then breakout. So I do like the way it's looking overall here. We just need to get that breakout higher there. So we're going to kind of see that play against across these alts that I'm about to talk about here. Same idea. A lot of these looking for kind of the next movement up. And so like for this one locally here, again, potentially some sort of flat correction here. This is H bar. And that'll give us a target up there just above the R2 pivot, right there at around 0.25. And then, again, I think we get a pullback then, and then we get a breakout higher toward about 0.27825. And that's what I'm kind of looking at there. So if we can get this breakout higher, we kind of move up past that R2 pivot, we pull back, and then we head back up there toward the almost 28 cent area. Let me see here. ICP, USD. Again, same idea. We've got the same general structure. You're going to see this. I
all look the same. It's like inverse head and shoulders, double bottoms across the board. All of them.
Yeah,
just look for the one that hasn't done it yet. Yeah.
And that's what you like to see, right? I mean, if you think that alts are kind of, finally reversing, doing things, you want to see them all kind of doing that same general structure. Not all of them, but, a lot of them doing that. And so, people that are watching, again, I'm only showing a few charts here, but you can go look at your own charts, and most of them will look pretty similar. So again, if you're looking at it, all you've got to do is grab your retracement tool here, measure out from that swing high to that swing low there, and then look at your 1.618, and that gives you a target in this case of 6.628 for ICP. So that would look to me like the next kind of move up there. And again, then we'd pull back down here, and then we'd break out higher up here, probably closer to around $7.25, $7.30 on that. And then we'd get our bigger pullback. And again, that kind of aligns with what we're looking at with the total 3, where we have the, the measured move up, the pullback, and then one more up to kind of finish that five-wave movement. Let me see here. I've got OP here. Again, same idea, right? Got the same pullback here, looking for initially a move up here to $1, basically $1.09, gets us right above the low volume node here. And so, that's kind of our next move on this one. And then we'll look for the pullback, and of course, potentially then the next move higher, probably to get us up closer toward this, this swing high up here, maybe this fair value gap up here around $1.20, $1.30 kind of area here as our final move up, then get our pullback, and then we've got that really big one. So, if you're watching these and you're like, oh, but that's not a big enough movement because I demand profits right now and lots of them. That isn't the way it works, but you want to watch, if we can get the one short movement up, the pullback, and then the movement up, that next pullback is where you want to be looking to go long, because that's going to give you a large wave 3 to really kind of be in, the participation wave where everybody kind of gets excited and joins in because they're figuring out, oh crap, I'm going the wrong way if I'm trying to short. Once again here, the FTT, same idea. Based on this local pullback here, it gives us an initial target of $1.35.
I love that this token still exists. I love that there's an FTX token that we can still actively trade.
It's crazy, isn't it? just to kind of make you really hate, really hate, everything about what happened just a few years back. So you can get into FTT. Or you can look at it and say, I'm going to sock it to the man. I'm going to make my money off this defunct idiot company anyway.
Get it back. Get it all back. From Sam.
But yeah, so this kind of gets us right up here into the low volume node. There's a really large low volume node here. And so, that's at least the next move up. And then we'll look for a pullback and see if we can get one more push out higher before we get kind of that pullback and the real big move up. Right here, got two more here. We've got DAG. DAG, this looks like an ABC here. This looks like an ending diagonal. So ABC 1, 2, ABC 3, 4, ABC 5. So, to me, again, like the other ones, this looks like this may be complete here, and we're going to break out, higher overall. But locally, looking at this pullback, the breakout higher gives us that initial target up there at about 5.5 cents or so, just shy of 5.5 cents. And so that's kind of my next target on there. And so, I'd love to give higher targets overall, but, when I do that here, then people get frustrated if it goes up and it pulls back and then it goes up again. So, initial targets are what we're looking at here really. But looking for potentially a rejection around there. But, again, these are just targets based on price action. They're not guaranteed, and price can and often does even push up higher. So, these are kind of like, listen, initially this is where I want to see it get. And if I can get in that, I can make some profit, I'm happy. Not worried about chasing, every penny that comes out of it. And then finally, I've got near USDT here as well.
I like near. I shared this chart just the other day. Yeah, I was looking at this one. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, locally here, same idea. You get this 3-wave pullback here.
Inverse head and shoulders.
Oh, yeah. Right there. Yeah, exactly. And, just from this alone, you got a pattern target of $3 and basically 65 cents. I think, it then pulls back and then it rallies up here to around $4.27.5, which gets us right here at that previous support, the upper, middle upper area of this, this low volume node here. So, I mean, again, I think, our alts, I think there's a good, you're going to continue to make some good money on it. We've made a lot of money over it the last few weeks here. A lot of our trades have hit targets here over the last few days, both with stocks and with crypto. Stocks, man, stocks looking great. Tech just keeps ripping it up there. And so, this is the same thing. Everybody was like, oh, the top's in. And then you get to that sentiment where everybody's kind of hating life and they've got to find every reason why it's the end of the world. And, that's usually when price turns around, that's what we've gotten. So I'm liking the setups. I'm liking the opportunity here. But again, the only thing you control in the market is how much you lose. That's it. So, if risk management is not the number one thing that you're concerned about every day when you're trading, it needs to be. It needs to be because it can go so bad so fast. It can go so bad so fast. I mean, yesterday was just a great, when I came in a little bit late to Crypto Town Hall yesterday, but it was such a great conversation.
Yeah.
Oh, so
I'm so glad that it was Alex from Swissborg that he called me negative Nancy or whatever
Nancy,
he called me. He was like, Scott, I love you. We're friends. He was like, but I've noticed you've become negative and people need to follow like a big cross section of people, including brand new people to the market. And I was like, don't follow anyone who's brand new to the market.
No.
They're just, all they are is pre-poor. They're quick rich, but pre-poor.
He
was making the argument that all of us who've been here a few cycles are way too cynical. And I was like, yeah, you need a proper dose of jadedness to manage your risk, so.
Well, you absolutely do. You really do. The reason why we're here still after multiple cycles is because we've gotten to that point where we understand we need to be more cautious. It's not just balls to the wall, drop everything, YOLO, FOMO in, all that kind of nonsense. If you're doing that, again, when you come into trading, everybody comes in the same way. Just about everybody comes in thinking they're going to get rich overnight, thinking it's easy to do, thinking they can do it. We all come in there, and it's been the same way since I've been in. So this is my 31st year. So from 31 years back, I came in that same way. And everybody I've seen in every market, stocks, futures, Forex, crypto, it's the same person over and over again that comes in. So there's nothing special about thinking that way, which means you can kind of forgive yourself for doing so and figure out, okay, this is what I thought and I'm wrong and I lost money. So what do I need to change? So, because otherwise, as long as you're not taking responsibility, you'll never change what you're doing, and you're going to continue making those same mistakes over and over again, and you're losing money. And why do that? Why throw money into the market just to lose it? I mean, the whole idea of coming into the market is so you can make money, right?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of rude awakenings coming. The more alt season we get, the less rational people are going to be. Sadly, it is what it is. All right, guys, give Chris a follow over at TX West Capital. Join his group. Check out everything he's got going on, man. Just amazing over there. And I guess until next week, buddy, right?
Yeah, we'll see you next week with probably some pullbacks.
I feel like this is a good time to pull back. As I said to Matt, though, now it's more like a buy the dip opportunity than a sell the rip opportunity. And I think altcoins generally for the past while has been like, if you get a pump, you just get out and look again later. Now I really feel like we've flipped that. So
I would definitely think
20% discount from here if you believe there's going to be this bit of an alt season. I think that's great.
Yeah, exactly. I would definitely default to buying the dip versus selling the rip these days right now. Yeah.
You got it. All right, everybody. Thank you, Chris. See you next week.
Let's go.